In the autumn of 1940, a small black metal deed box crossed the Atlantic Ocean aboard the Canadian Pacific passenger liner Duchess of Richmond. It was not guarded by soldiers. It carried no markings to suggest importance. Yet it was designed with a single chilling purpose. If the ship were struck by a German torpedo, the box would deliberately flood, sink straight to the bottom of the Atlantic, and ensure that its contents would never fall into enemy hands. Inside the box sat a copper device roughly the size of a man's fist. It weighed less than a kilogram. It had holes drilled through it to an untrained eye. It looked like industrial scrap. But years later, the official historian of the United States government would describe what this box carried as the most valuable cargo ever brought to American shores. Not gold. Not diamonds. Not secret invasion plans. A palm-sized piece of copper built in a British university laboratory. The men who invented it were not on the ship. One would later receive a knighthood. The other never would. They invented the same device on the same day in the same room, yet history would remember them very differently. In 1940, none of that mattered. What mattered was survival. Britain stood alone against Nazi Germany, slowly being strangled, not from the air but from beneath the waves. By the summer of 1940, Britain's situation was catastrophic. France had fallen. The British Army had escaped from Dunkirk, but without its equipment, Germany now controlled Europe from Norway to the Spanish border. Then came the Blitz. For 57 consecutive nights, German bombers pounded London. By the end of the campaign, more than 43,000 civilians were dead. Over 1 million homes were damaged or destroyed. Coventry Cathedral, standing for nearly 1,000 years, was reduced to rubble in a single night. But bombs were not the true danger. The real threat was invisible. German U-boats prowled the Atlantic, severing Britain's lifeline. The island nation needed over 1 million tons of imports every single week just to survive. Food, fuel, steel, aluminum. Between June and October 1940 alone, 274 merchant ships were sunk. In October, 352,000 tons of supplies vanished beneath the waves. Winston Churchill would later admit that the U-boat threat frightened him more than anything else in the war. More than invasion, more than bombing. Britain was bleeding to death at sea. Britain had radar. It had helped win the Battle of Britain. The chain-home radar system used radio waves over 10 meters long. It gave early warning of incoming bomber formations and allowed RAF fighters to intercept them. But chain-home had fatal limitations. Its antennas were enormous, some towers over 100 meters tall. The system was fixed in place, immobile, and useless at sea. Worse still, it could not see low-flying targets. Anything below about 500 meters vanished into radar clutter. German pilots exploited this immediately. Low-flying aircraft laid magnetic mines undetected. Submarines surfaced at night and remained invisible. Against U-boats, chain-home was blind. Physicists knew the solution. Microwaves. Shorter wavelengths meant smaller antennas, sharper beams, better resolution. Radar that could fit inside aircraft. Radar that could see a submarine periscope. But there was a problem. No one could generate enough microwave power. American laboratories had tried and failed. The best microwave devices in the world, called klystrons, produced about 10 watts of power. Effective radar needed at least 1,000 watts. The U.S. Navy officially declared the problem unsolvable. Then, in Birmingham, England, two men were asked to solve it anyway. John Turton Randall, 34, was a physicist from a working-class background, known for unconventional thinking. Harry Boot, 22, was a doctoral student whose studies had been interrupted by war. They had no special funding. No advanced workshop. No guarantee of success. Just a question no one else could answer. In November 1939, Randall remembered the work of Heinrich Hertz, how resonant cavities could trap electromagnetic waves. What if the magnetron wasn't a single cavity? What if it had many? That afternoon, Randall and Boot sketched an idea that had never been tried. They built it with whatever they could find. A copper block, 6 drilled cavities, a glass bell jar, a horseshoe magnet wax for sealing. On February 21, 1940, they switched it on. The instruments showed 400 watts at a wavelength of 9.8 centimeters. They thought the meters were broken. They weren't. Within a week, 1,000 watts by July, 25,000 watts by May 1941, 1 million watts, the cavity magnetron had been born. Britain had the invention. It did not have the factories. The Blitz had destroyed industrial capacity. Skilled workers were gone. Materials were scarce. Sir Henry Tizard made an unthinkable proposal. Give everything to America. radar, jet engines, explosives, atomic bomb research. Churchill hesitated, but approved. In August 1940, the black box began its journey. At the Wardman Park Hotel in Washington, American scientists gathered. When the magnetron emerged, silence fell. Their best devices produced 10 watts. This produced 10,000. MIT immediately created the radiation laboratory. Bell Labs began mass production. Over 1 million magnetrons would be built. The war changed course. In 1943, centimetric radar entered service. German detectors couldn't see it. Submarines surfaced at night, confident and blind. They died in darkness. May 1943 became black. May. 43 U-boats destroyed. Shipping losses collapsed. The Atlantic was saved. The magnetron enabled H-2S radar. Bombers could now see cities through cloud and darkness. Hamburg burned. German industry collapsed. By D-Day, the Luftwaffe was broken. Radar didn't end the war. It made victory possible. Randall was knighted, Boot was not. Their invention lives on. In 1945, Percy Spencer noticed a melted chocolate bar near a magnetron. Today, 93% of British homes contain one. Every microwave oven uses their invention. A block of copper, to horseshoe magnet, to desperate gamble. The most valuable cargo ever carried across the Atlantic.